everybody! Today we're going to show you how to do week 3 of the February doll as part of the Mystery Ami Crochet Along. You can see we've got everything we need here in the background. I've got my doll, my stuffing, my scissors, and my crochet hook. Today we're going to do the legs for this doll. The reason why I'm doing a video for this part of the pattern is because if you haven't done this type of crocheting for Amis before, kind of this top-down method, and made legs for it, you might want a visual kind of guide for that. And the reason I say that is because we're going to be working in some kind of tight spaces up in here. And I know I'm a visual learner, and I thought if others out there were more visual, then maybe this video would help. I do have all the instructions written out in the pattern itself, so if you don't feel like you need this video, please just go ahead and skip on down to the pattern. That's perfectly fine. If you do need it, I'm here for you. We got this. It's pretty easy. It just takes a little bit of practice. Bear with me. I'm still getting over this cold thing, so if my voice cuts out a little bit, or if I have to stop and drink some water, or if I start hacking up along, just bear with me here. But we'll go ahead and just get started, okay? So I've got my doll here, right? And last week we did the torso, right? The whole body of the doll right here, this section. So now we're going to do some legs, and we're going to do that just by building off of the piece that we've already done. So you can see I haven't fastened off here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I didn't do that before. If your back here, if this stitch lines up nice and even back center, the centermost stitch in the back with your doll's face, you don't have to fasten off here. However, I know with me, sometimes my work spirals a little bit, and so it's just easier sometimes just to fasten off and start back in where you know is the center stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that here. I did right to do that in the pattern itself. Excuse me. So there we go. So now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to move that tail out of the way, and I'm going to find the centermost back stitch to do this first leg. Okay, so I got them upside down here. I've got some stuffing in here, but not a whole lot. I'll insert more as we go. So I want to find the kind of the centermost back stitch, and what I mean is the stitch along this back side here that's as close to center as I can get, center with the eyes, basically, right? So I'm just going to look here. And it helps if you kind of tilt them down and look at it a little bit. And I think that's going to be right about here for this guy, right? So it's very close to where I left off, but not quite center there. So if you're not quite center, just go ahead and fasten off and then find that center stitch, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and take my yarn, which I have off in the background here. I'll pull some out. It's got a little bit of a tangle here. Go figure. Alrighty. So I'm just going to make a little slip knot, put that on my hook, and I'm going to chain 1, just like that, okay? And now we're ready to go ahead and start the first round of our very first leg, okay? Now for this leg, we're going to work, this is going to be right here, this is going to be the doll's left-hand leg, right? And then the second leg will be on the right side here. So we're going to go ahead and just start off, and we're going to do, for the first round of the leg, we're just going to work 12 single crochet stitches along this part of the torso here. So go ahead and just count them out. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so now you can see, if I pull this out a little bit, this leaves us pretty center along the front of the doll, right? And it lines up nicely with the first stitch that we made at the back center. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to join to that very first single crochet stitch that we did for this leg round. And we're just going to join with a slip stitch, okay? So I'm just going to put my hook through that first stitch, yarn over, and work a slip stitch right there. So you can see that kind of closes that off there, and we create two little openings, right? This is the leg here. This is still the torso. When we do the second leg, we're going to work along this side here. Okay. Just going to go ahead and chain one. And now we are ready to keep going. Now I want to point out that it's going to be easier for you to insert some stuffing as we go, rather than try and stuff the torso completely full and then, you know, have to crochet around that. That way you're not crocheting through your stuffing accidentally. If it's too full, it can be hard to work with. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to go ahead and insert a little bit more stuffing. Bear with me, I'm just correcting something I saw on my pattern here. Just want to make sure I get this right for you guys. And okay, so I'm just going to take a little bit more stuffing, just a little bit. And I'm going to just insert that into the torso. I'm going to come in through the side that we're not working on right now. Just kind of put that in, and I'm going to shove it over to the other side just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Not that much. Just a little bit more. Okay. That's going to make it easier for me later on, instead of having to stuff all the way down through the leg. We'll already have some stuffing at the base here. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and start round 2. Now, rounds 2 through 6 of the legs are basically for both legs. They're pretty much exactly the same as each other. So for round 1, we just did some single crochets, and that just let us do this kind of foundation round for the leg. But round 2, for the first leg anyways, we're going to be working some more back post and front post half double crochet stitches along here to kind of create more ridges as we go and kind of make that look continue through the doll, right? So we chained 1, so now we're ready to go ahead and start round 2. All we're going to do is yarn over, and we're going to start with a back post half double crochet, right? And we've done this before with the head and the torso, but you just do the back post half double crochet, and then you're going to do a half double crochet in the next stitch, okay? And then a front post half double crochet, just like so, and then a half double crochet in the next stitch. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around the leg, right? So you're repeating that, you're doing a total of 3 times of that repetition. So you did that once, we'll go ahead and keep going. Got back post, and then half double crochet, if I can find it, there we go, half double crochet, and then we're doing a front post. There we go. And then a half double crochet. That's 2 repetitions. We're going to do that again. Back post. And then a half double crochet. There we go. And then a front post. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because you're working in those tight spaces. There we go. And then a half double crochet in the last stitch here, if we can get that in. Like I said, it's kind of tricky. There we go. Alrighty, and now we're just going to go ahead and join to the beginning of that round with a slip stitch, just like that, and chain 1. Okay, so now you can see we kind of got our legs started here, right? And you're just going to continue that all the way up through the leg, right? So it's a total of 6 rounds for each leg. This is 2 rounds here, just do 4 more. The last 4 are exactly the same as round 2, okay? So you just do the back post half double crochet, the half double crochet in the next stitch, the front post half double crochet, and then the half double crochet in the next stitch. And just repeat that for the next 4 rounds. At the end of round 6, you're just going to go ahead and fasten off. And we're going to do that partially because, excuse me, take a little drink here real quick. Goodness, okay. So we're going to fasten off at the end of that leg because we're going to go ahead and start the next leg. And we're going to need our yarn for that. You're also fastening off because we're going to do some feet later on. And we're going to do kind of like we did here where we found that back centermost stitch. We're going to do that again for the foot to make sure our feet line up this way and they're not kind of like this, you know? So for the purposes of this video, right now, I'm going to go ahead and fasten off here just because I want to show you how to start the next leg, okay? Okay, so for the second leg, it's going to be easier for you to just keep doing this first leg here until you finish it and then fasten off, okay? But for this video, I'm going to show you just what we're going to do to start this second leg here so you can see it kind of going at the same time. So for leg number 2, the doll's right hand leg, we're going to go ahead and insert our hook into the 13th stitch of that the last round of the torso, right? So we're going to find, right, this here, whoops, there we go. This here was the 12th stitch, right? So we did 12 single crochets all the way around here. This is number 12, and then we joined with the slip stitch here, right? So this right here should be our 13th stitch, okay? So you just put your hook in there. We're gonna go ahead and throw some yarn on there. Excuse me. There we go. We're gonna go ahead and chain 1. Alrighty. So now we're just gonna work again around this torso piece here, and we're just gonna do 12 more single crochets, okay? So we'll just count them out. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pull some more yarn out. That was 8, 9, 10, 11, there we go, and number 12 right here. There we go. Okay, ignore all my tails. All right, so now to finish off this first row, again, we're just going to come back up to the very first stitch that we made for the first leg round and join to that with a slip stitch, just like so. So that leaves us with kind of 2 legs here, right? Now, I'll go ahead and show you how we're going to do the rest of this leg as well. Let's see here. So we're just going to go ahead and do, this is kind of the inverse of the previous leg, okay? So with the first leg, we were doing, pull up the pattern here, we were doing back post, then a half double crochet, then a front post, then a half double crochet. For leg 2, we're going to start with a front post, and then I'd do a half double crochet, and then a back post, and then a half double crochet. So it's kind of the reverse, right? So we're just going to go ahead and do that here. Just do the front post. And then a half double crochet in the next stitch. Oops. There we go. Half double crochet. And then we're going to do a back post. And then a half double crochet. Helps if you get in all the loops. There we go. Alright, so there's front post, half double crochet, back post, half double crochet, right? So now we're going to go ahead and do that just again. Just do the front post, half double crochet, and then a half double crochet in the next stitch, and then do a back post, half double crochet, and then a half double crochet in the next stitch. All right, and then we're going to do that again. Front post. Again, this is hard to work with the video. Okay, so front post, right? All the way through, there we go. And then a half double crochet. On the back post. And then a half double crochet. Now it's a little tricky to work in these tight spaces like this. It takes a little bit of practice, so I highly recommend using good lighting. Okay, so there we go. So now we're just going to go ahead and again join to the beginning of the round with a slip stitch and chain one. Pull that out a little bit, pull out some more yarn. Okay, so you can see I've got lots of tails. You'll have less than this because you didn't fasten off early on that first leg. But again, for the rest of the rounds for this leg, you just continue that same method and do rounds, what is it, 3 through 6, rounds 3 through 6. The next 4 rounds, exactly the same as you just did round 2. And you're just going to keep doing that for both legs. So you do this left leg first, all the way down to row 6, fasten off. Then you come back and you start leg 2, the right leg, and do rows 1 through 6. And then fasten off, and then you start in on the feet. Now, one thing I do also want to mention for this video is because of how we joined our rounds here to start the legs, you're going to have a little bit of a gap in between the legs here where you'll see stuffing, okay? Now, you have a couple of options. My suggestion would be to just take your tail ends here. Keep these nice and long. I didn't leave these as long as I probably should have, but keep your ends where you fasten off really, really long because that's going to let you sew together this kind of gap in between and make it very unnoticeable, right? I have an example over here. Okay, this is another doll that I made. You can kind of see the feet there in this, right? I made his legs backwards by accident, so I've corrected the pattern so you don't have to worry about that. You can see he's got kind of one ridge in the back and then the 2 ridges on the front. So I kind of flipped that so this would look more like a knee. So if your legs end up looking like this, don't worry, they still look pretty cute. The same principle is going to apply for the feet, so your feet aren't going to be backwards or anything. But you could see we've got this nice straight leg and the foot at the bottom, right? So, and you could see we stitched, kind of awkward shot there, we stitched the opening between the legs shut. So it's not noticeable at all. You just got to make sure you leave your tails long enough to stitch it shut. And it's a little awkward to work in there because by the time your legs are made, they're long enough, they're kind of in the way. And you got all these tails in the way. But again, just use good lighting, a good needle, and long enough tails, and you shouldn't have any problems with that. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop this section of the video, and real quick, I'll work up the next bit of the legs, and I'll show you that in a quick second here. Okay, we're back. So now you can see we've got the legs all the way done. There's 6 rows each, and you can see we've got a little ridge in the front here of each leg, and then on the back, we've got a couple ridges here and a couple ridges here. Excuse me, they're a little bit harder to see, but you can definitely feel the ones in the back. The ones in the front are pretty easy to see. Goodness, okay. So at this point, you're ready to go ahead and, stuff your legs a little bit. And I would recommend that you just work with small chunks of stuffing, about yay big or so. Start with one leg and just kind of get started with the stuffing. I like to use the end of my crochet hook here, the kind of flat end, to help put that into the leg. Works a little bit easier than my fingers sometimes. And you want it to be kind of firm, but not so full of stuffing that you can see it coming through, right? So this is pretty firm up in here. You can continue stuffing through the leg all the way up into the body if you feel like your torso doesn't have quite enough stuffing. I feel like this is pretty good on this side here. This feels pretty firm, except for the little bit right down here at the bottom. We'll put a little bit more in there. And you can always, insert more stuffing when you're working on the feet too. So don't feel like you have to have it perfect right now. And you'll have a better feel for it when you get the feet on there too. But there we go. So that's about as full as I think I want to make this leg right here. This one here has no stuffing in it. So we'll go ahead and just insert some stuffing here. And you can see I'm just starting with little small clumps. This side of the torso is a little empty, so I'm going to kind of shove that in there and put that into the torso instead of the leg. Small clumps of stuffing. The reason I say that is because you want to work with small bits, because if you put, a large bit in and then a piece that's not quite as large, you might end up with kind of a lumpy effect that you can actually feel for your doll. So I don't really want to do that. So I'm starting with some small pieces here. In fact, I'm going to use a smaller piece than that. There we go. Just stuff that in and keep stuffing until you're happy with it. And again, the ideal amount, kind of varies by person, obviously, but I would recommend that you stuff your doll's body and head and whatnot so that it's fairly firm to the touch, but has a little bit of give to it, right? For the legs, obviously, you're going to want to have enough stuffing so that he can stand up. It's going to be a little bit tricky right now because he doesn't have any feet, but ideally, he'll have enough stuffing to help him stand in the end, right? So he's got, see, look, no hands. There he is. He's got some stuffing in this leg here. I want to add some more just to give him some support, right? Too much and he'll topple over because he won't have the ability to like flex the legs at all, if that makes sense. If they're too stuffed, they're just going to be like some, like, I don't know, noodles too full of cheese. They're just going to be like poof and not be useful. You want to have a little bit of give, a little bit of flexibility, but not so much that they're just kind of flopping around, right? So I think a little bit more. Always takes a little bit more than you need, I feel like. You think it's good, and then you keep working on it and make adjustments. Okay, so that's pretty darn close. I think I'm going to leave it as is because when I add the feet, I can add more stuffing. But those legs are pretty sturdy now. And again, he doesn't have feet, so it's kind of hard to stand, but he's there. He's standing. I have my backup doll here I'll show you as well. Now, this was a kind of prototype pattern, so his legs are longer. You can see that there, but you can see with the feet, he stands pretty easily. So just a thought, you can put as much stuffing in as you feel is needed, but you're going to need a little bit more than I think you will. So there you go. That is our week 3 for the February doll. You can probably guess who we're making. If not, you'll be in for a surprise. So keep crafting, and week 4 is going to come out in a little bit here. The link will be on the website for the February doll for the Mystery Ami Crochet Along. Thanks for watching.